my notifications exploded yesterday because of the death of Nancy Drew. That's a comic book series which is coming out soon, and the premise is that Nancy Drew is killed and the Hardy Boys need to investigate her murder. And this was big news for some reason. It was even on CNN. So a bunch of people who normally don't care about Nancy Drew were suddenly talking about Nancy Drew, and everybody wants to know how I feel about it. So I'm making this video to explain my feelings. I'm actually not surprised by this comic book because it's a sequel to an earlier series, I think 2016, 2017, called The Big Lie. And I only read a little bit of that. The premise is that it's a noir novel, so it's dark and gritty. Frank and Joe Hardy are being accused of the murder of their father, and Nancy Drew is a femme fatale. And that sounds like a great story to me, you know, going back to like the 1920s, 1930s roots of the respective series. So I picked it up, and it was way too dark for me. I only got about, I don't know, 5 or 6 pages in, and it kind of went into Nancy's dad. It was indicated that Nancy's father beat her mother shortly before she died, and then I'm like, okay, I'm out. I'm not reading the rest of this. So I didn't read the rest of it. And actually, the author of the comic book messaged me on Twitter asking me, oh, hey, you're a Nancy Drew fan. Did you read it? What did you think about it? And I didn't want to be mean, so I kind of danced around the issue saying, hey, I wasn't able to finish the entire thing. And it was definitely way better than the Nancy Drew comics, which were released in 2004 through, say, 2010, the Girl Detective series. Because the artwork in that one is just weird, and the stories are not so good. So, you know, this comic series, it may be a bit darker and more grim, but it's got higher production values. And I'm also, so I'm not surprised that in the sequel comic book series, which is coming out, Nancy Drew dies. Because I just explained the premise of the original series. It's the Hardy Boys are the main characters. And it seems weird that all the news reports were saying this is a Nancy Drew comic book where she dies. It's like, well, no, it's more of a Hardy Boys comic book guest starring Nancy Drew. And also, I'm pretty sure she's not dead.
It feels like a, what's it called? A clickbait kind of headline.
Yeah.
Nancy Drew's dead. Like, I bet you 10 to 1 is one of those Nancy Drews are actually dead. Oh, look, they find out that it was a hoax all along for some insurance money or whatever.
Yeah, because we've seen Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew books like that where they play the clickbait thing. I just read, like, the Super Mystery Wanted, where the prologue is just a clickbait thing like that, where it looks like, oh no, the Hardy Boys are robbing a bank, they've turned evil! And it turns out it's not them, it was impersonators.
If I wanted to get all, like, political sort of thing, it's like Hardy Boys and the abortion clinic, or Hardy Boys and the like gay pride parade. I mean, you know what I mean? Just more kind of like clickbait sort of things with people that have got like, that have like a hardcore issue they really care about. It's just kind of a way to rope unrelated people into it.
It is.
I find it kind of deceptive and like eye rolling.
Well, I was gonna say that you know, there's another Nancy Drew comic book series, which I haven't read, but it's the same sort of way, where they do what you just did. They tried to make it, I don't know, majorly feminist. It sounded like it was a great comic, though. But, I mean, it's, okay, George is gay, and Nancy has a shaved head for some reason, and such like that. But I was going to say, when the original comic book, The Big Lie, came out, that was way before this Nancy Drew TV series, the one we've got now, where, again, it seems a little clickbaity that, you know, Nancy Drew is having sex with random guys, and, you know, lesbian makeout scenes. Yeah, it seems like shock value trying to get people to watch. It's interesting because the original author, like I said, he messaged me. One of his inspirations for doing the Nancy Drew Hardy Boys thing was Riverdale.
Ew.
He's like, hey, is there another property that we could give the Riverdale treatment? And it's funny because they've actually done that now with the TV series. They've got one of the big Riverdale producers on the new Nancy Drew show.
Well, it's like what they did with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Like, I like the Melissa Joe Hart one. I like the little cartoon series. I thought those were cool. And then, like, I think I watched, like, 30 seconds of the Sabrina one. I was like, this is gross. Move away. Not my kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And so that's basically my opinion of the new comic book series, which I haven't read. I'm probably not going to pick up The Death of Nancy Drew, but it does seem like, hey, it's clickbait, but it kind of works because this is a dark and gritty series, but it still kind of feels like... Actually, it seems like it was unintentional that they got so much attention. This is not as much attention as they were expecting to get, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind this huge boost in sales, right?
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're in such a weird plane. Like, what was that one we read kind of recently? Like, The School of Good and Evil?
Oh, I didn't read it. You?
Yeah, me and, like, the 10-year-old went and read that, like, relatively recently. Or, what was it called? Like, you've been reading a lot of those, like, Disney ones?
Yeah, like, I mean, that's sort of one of the big premises is Frozen is we're going to totally turn the traditional version of the story on its head, right?
Yeah.
But that was actually really good. Also, Shrek. Yeah, Shrek has the same premise, but...
What was the name of those books? What was the name of the Frozen one?
Frozen, which one? Forest of Shadows or Conceal Don't Feel?
That's it, those are the two of them, yeah. But anyway, so it's like, we're just not the target audience for a gritty Nancy Drew book, or gritty Riverdale,
I'm wondering who the target audience is, though, because it seems to be aimed at people who are familiar with, like, the 1950s versions of the books, because I like the Hardy Boys 1980s one for adults, or at least for older readers, just fine. That's totally fine by me. That's my jam. But I don't really care about the 1950s Hardy Boys. They're like, oh boy, Joe, we're gonna solve a mystery. Hoo-hoo.
Boxcar children.
Yeah.
With a slight steroid boost. Yeah.
They kind of acted that way, though. And like, even when you're watching TV and somebody's doing like a Hardy Boys parody, like South Park or Family Guy, they're making fun of 1950s Hardy Boys. They're not making fun of any of the hundreds of Hardy Boys books that have come out, since we were born.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think they even know there was a 1980 series and then another 1990 series. There have been like so many different Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew series at this point, over a dozen.
We're just not the type of people that are into that type of series that's coming out. So, and that's okay. It's okay to like, for us to not be into it and for other people to be into it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so like I said, I like some dark Hardy Boys and Nancy Drews. Like I said, 1980s dark Hardy Boys. The case file starts with they blow up the Hardy Boys car when Joe's girlfriend is inside it. And that was amazing. I loved it. And I really loved the series. But this one, it seems it's dark in a way that I don't like. Whereas, the case files, it was dark in a way which I thought was cool and exciting and more serious because they're dealing with murder all the time, which is pretty much in line with every other mystery series. So, I mean, that ended up working well, but,
Well, maybe next time they'll have another series where Nancy Drew knows karate in one book, and the next book she forgets karate in a scene that would have been perfect to know karate for.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, well, how long has this video been going on?
8 minutes and 41 seconds.
Okay, so let's just end the video, because any video that's under 10 minutes seems to be a good length.
Okay, cool. Talk to y'all later.
Okay, bye.